Assembly of petrol engine. These are the contents of the following video. First is the parts of petrol engine. Second is its disassembly, then its assembly and its working. We'll see the different parts of the petrol engine. These are the basic parts of the petrol engine. The first one is the cylinder block. Then comes the piston, piston rings, piston pin, connecting rod, crankshaft, cylinder head, intake valve, exhaust valve, camshaft, timing gears and spark plug. First of all, we'll see the first part, cylinder block. It is one of the most important parts of the engine in which the piston moves to and fro in order to develop a power. This cylinder can withstand up to a pressure of 50 bar and temperature more than 20,000 degrees centigrade as it is made of cast iron. The second part is the piston. It is considered to be the heart of an IC engine whose main function is to transmit the force exerted by burning of charge to connecting rod. It is generally made up of aluminium and it is a good conducting material and at the strength and it withstands strength at a high temperature. The main functions of the piston are to form a seal so that high pressure gases in the combustion chamber does not escape to the crankcase. Then the next part is its piston rings. The main function of the piston rings is to form a seal and to provide easy passage of heat from the piston to the cylinder walls and to maintain sufficient lubrication to the cylinder walls. Then comes the next part, connecting rod. The rod which connects the piston with the rotating crankshaft is called connecting rod. It is usually made of steel or alloy of forged steel in most of the engines. Then the next part is crankshaft. The rotating shaft through which engine work is supplied to the external system. The crankshaft is connected to the engine block with the main bearing. Then comes the inlet and the exhaust valves. They open and close during the cycles in order for the suction and for the removal of the exhaust. Then the next part is the spark plug. The spark plug provides the two electrodes with a proper gap across which a high potential discharge to generate a spark and ignite the combustible mixture within the combustion chamber. Then the next part you can see are the timing gears. Assembly and disassembly of the petrol engine. This is single cylinder 4-stroke air-cooled petrol engine manufactured by the GRIET Limited. It has a power of 1.1 kilowatt with a bore dia of 55 mm and stroke length of 50 mm. Its speed is 3000 rpm and the compression ratio of 4.5:1. By removing these nuts, the cylinder head is removed. This is the piston. This is the combustion chamber. This is the spark plug insertion hole. This is the inlet valve. And this is the outlet valve. This is the flywheel. This is the magnetic ignition coil. When this coil reaches these magnets, the spark plug is activated. This is the crankcase. This is the governor. And this is the crankshaft. And this gear controls the camshaft gear. And this is the camshaft. This is the piston and these are the piston rings and this is the connecting rod. This is the cylinder bore This is the camshaft. This is the dipstick for knowing the lubricating oil level. These are the internal parts of a petrol engine. Now we will assemble these parts. The crankshaft is placed in its original position. Now the piston is replaced in its cylindrical bore. Now the governor is placed in its original position. And this whole assembly is kept on the crankcase. This magnetic ignition coil is placed on the shaft, and the flywheel slot is inserted on the crankshaft. And the cylinder head is placed on the cylinder. This completes the experiment. Working of the petrol engine. The first stage is the suction stage. In this stage, the piston, while going down towards BDC, uncovers both the transfer port and the exhaust port. The fresh fuel-air mixture flows into the engine cylinder from the crankcase. The second stage is the compression stage. In this stage, the piston, while moving up, first covers the transfer port and then the exhaust port. After, the fuel is compressed as the piston moves upwards. In this stage, the inlet port opens and the fresh fuel-air mixture enters into the crankcase. The third stage is the expansion stage. Shortly before this piston reaches the TDC, the charge is ignited with the help of spark plug. It suddenly increases the pressure and temperature of the products of the combustion. But the volume practically remains constant. Due to the rise in the pressure, the piston is pushed downwards with a great force. Then the fourth stage is the exhaust stage. In this stage, the exhaust port is opened as the piston moves downwards. The products of the combustion from the engine cylinder are exhausted through the exhaust port into the atmosphere. This completes the cycle and the engine cylinder is ready to suck the charge once again.